Hey there, it's Jonathan from PlayGuitar.com, and that's me playing in the key of E major, even though, as if you're watching, I was using D shapes. Now, today I want to talk about a little trick that I like to use for playing in the key of E. I guess you can have your own reasons for why you might want to do this. One, if you don't like using your bar chords, get rid of this for a second. If you don't like using your bar chords, of course, E has a lot of bar chords, right? C sharp minor and B major and F sharp minor and stuff like that, right? This can get you away from using bar chords, but my personal reason for using this trick is that you get that really nice low end on your E chord, right? And you get a higher end. So you get really nice, easy to use chord shapes, which is, they're all the D major key chord shapes, right? But then you kind of come back to this really low end E, which sounds awesome. I love the sound of that. It's just a really unique sound that I love the contrast of those higher chords with that really low end, right? So let's talk about what we're doing here. It's very simple. We're just taking a capo. Now, this isn't any old capo, okay? This is, well, it kind of is. It's not nothing super special, except that I've ground down the tip a little bit. Now, you don't have to do this. I don't know if you can see that on the on there, but I've ground it down a little bit so it's a little bit shorter. Now I've got a second capo here. This one's got a really long arm there. I don't know what you call that part. So you can see that these two are quite different in length, right? I like using this capo for just going across everything. You know, if I want a capo at the second fret, boom, done, right? But for this particular application, I like using this capo because I'm only capoing 5 strings and I'm coming from below, and I want to let that 6th string ring clearly. Now you got to be a little bit careful. The reason why I filed my capo down was because every now and then it would just buzz a little bit depending on the placement. So I basically brought the metal part right down to where the rubber ends on that, and that just works great. So what's happening with the chords here? Well, basically any chord shape that you're playing, if you're playing like a D chord, it's now moved up by 1 whole tone, okay? So it's now an E. And that goes for any chord. So A becomes B, G becomes A, etc. E minor becomes F sharp minor. Everything gets shifted up, right? B minor is now C sharp minor. Everything gets shifted up by 1 whole tone. Now, you could play in the key of G, but it doesn't hit quite as hard. My personal preference is to really only use this when I want to play in the key of E. Sorry, I said in the key of G, I meant in the key of A. Using G, you know, got 2 things going on here, where you're coming from and where you're going. But so you could do it in the key of A. Personally, I really only use this trick when I want to play in the key of E specifically, okay? Because I want to resolve whenever the song comes back to the tonic, which in this case is the E, the D shape, right? When it comes back to the tonic, that's when I want it to hit hardest with that really nice low end, right? So if you've got that really nice low end happening at some other place in the key, like on the 4 or the 5 or something like that, then it's going to sound nice at that point, but it's just going to be a little bit different because you're going to be resolving away from it, right? So that's why I really only use this when I'm playing in E. One thing you really got to watch out for is the E minor, or sorry, should I say the F sharp minor. okay? Because you're used to playing E minor open, but if we use that shape here, what do we got going on there? We've got an E and we've got the top end of an F sharp minor chord, and that is just not gonna work super nicely. So you gotta be aware and mute that string. Easiest way that I find is to use the thumb, wrap it around, and just touch that 6th string enough that it mutes it, okay? Now you could also use just the corner of your 1st finger to catch that as well, but to me that puts my finger a little off center on the 5th string. It's not something I really like doing, because unless you kind of really mash it, you got to experiment with different ways, right? Everyone grabs the chord differently. Even different guitars lend themselves to different muting styles, because some fretboards are wider than others and narrower, etc., right? Narrower fretboard. Oftentimes I just play E minor with 1 finger, right? Of course it's an F sharp minor right now, but or an A, I'll play with 1 finger. So the reason I say that is because, you know, depending on how you play your chords on your guitar, that's gonna produce different options for how you would mute these strings. But you want to mute it. However you go about doing that. Okay, so mute when you're playing the E minor, F sharp minor, and I would recommend muting for everything else where you're not, like just mute that lower 6th string whenever you're playing any other chords, like an A for instance, or the D, or sorry, not the D. You want that there for the D, right? Which is an E, I know. So, try to keep that out of the mix when you're playing anything that's not really using it specifically. Other than that, you're pretty much good to go. I just think it's a really beautiful kind of trick to play with. Now, very quickly, I want to give you a way to use this in lots of different keys. And the way we're going to do that is to double capo. So say now, not a lot of guitar players enjoy playing in the key of F, right? Well, what if you could do this trick and play in F, and you get to use all your D shapes? Very easy. All we got to do is move up 1 more fret. Okay, now this D shape becomes an F, the A becomes a C, the G becomes a B flat, right? And then we've got to follow that up with a 2nd capo on the 1st fret. Okay, now we've got that really nice low end. And you get to do all your tricks, but you're playing in the key of F, which is very cool. You could even do this in G if you wanted. Go up another couple frets, move everything up a couple frets. So when you come up here, now your D shape has become a G major. Right? That's your root note down here, 3rd fret. So, and that's your D, and that's your C. And away you go, off to the races. So have some fun with that. Let me know if you have used anything like this before, or if you're planning on using it. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you can think of other cool uses for 2 capos, I'd love to hear about those too. So like and subscribe, and we'll see you again in the next lesson. Take care.